start a gospel community or church in their neighborhood. Let's be intentional about empowering some young leaders who maybe can go reach the younger generation. We need new churches to reach unchurched people. Get super focused on only what can happen inside the four walls of the church. All of our churches should have a bigger front porch.
Larry Acosta.
Yeah.
Larry is with City to City. So, Larry, you are leading City to City. You say City to City Los Angeles, but it's basically, it's like the whole metro area, right?
Absolutely. We kind of see Ventura County all the way to Tijuana, Mexico
Yeah.
as a key part of the country that needs gospel renewal to flood through this area. And we believe that the tip of that arrow should be church planting, church multiplication, church renewal. And so we're trying to fuel that kind of a movement all throughout this region, even though we're based here.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, that's not small, and it is remarkably influential region. That's San Diego to, what was Ventura County?
Ventura
Is like
County.
North LA.
Yes.
So what do you do?
So we're burdened because there's around 32 million people in that region I described from Ventura to Tijuana. And so how are you gonna reach people far from God, people outside the four walls of the church? Well, we're gonna have to train some people to plant very missional churches, small churches, house churches, all the way to traditional big churches, to be externally focused and to take the gospel to people who don't go to church, right? People in the parks. And so we have a thing called an incubator that we use a lot of what Pastor Timothy Keller developed in his book, Center Church. We use a lot of the content in there to equip people. And so we have these monthly gatherings called incubators, and they're peppered all throughout Southern California, these incubators, so that they're accessible for training, for equipping, to help these people who are called to plant these new churches or to revitalize legacy churches. They come and get training, they have community, they get a coach, they get some funding, and so we help in that way.
Yeah, and your outreach seems to well reflect in ways that not everyone else does. I should tell everyone, just I'm impressed with what City City's doing. I'm impressed with City City Los Angeles. I've had the privilege, I've even spoken at your fundraising event. I believe in what you're doing, and I just came back from Indonesia. We did City to City events in Surabaya and City to City events in Jakarta. And this gospel work is taking place, and City City
globally.
Is such a leader in this. Mm-hmm. But also, too, you're reflecting LA. There's a diversity in that as well. Talk to us a little bit about the different ethnic engagements and ethnic groups and racial ethnic groups you're engaging.
Yeah, that's so key because LA is such a diverse city, right? And so we're very focused on developing Latino leaders and pastors, many who are planting Spanish-speaking congregations, others that are Latinos that are planting English-speaking congregations to reach second and third gen Latinos. And so it's very multi-ethnic. If you came to one of our incubators, Ed, you'd feel right at home because there's going to be Latinos, African Americans, Asians of all different types, Latinos of all different types, white dudes coming in for training.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on, man. And so we really are intentionally trying to plant churches led by folks of color that live in those communities. I would say that's maybe one of our unique attempts is to try to find people who are indigenous to some of these neighborhoods. You'll remember 15 years ago, a lot of people were transplanting to Southern California because if you live in Wisconsin, you might want to transplant to California, for the great weather, or Chicago.
Beautiful weather in Chicago.
But now you've transplanted here, you see the hype, and it's beautiful, right? But we're not looking for just transplant people to come if God's calling them, but we want to find people who already live here, their kids go to school here.
Bringing in planters, but also raising up people from the
Oh,
hearts.
yeah, man. We're really intentional about finding those local folks that are passionate Christ followers who can start a gospel community or church in their neighborhood. Their kids play Little League here. They're already connected, working, So a lot of our guys, I will say, are bivocational
Yeah.
because it's an expensive place to live.
It is expensive. And we're driving through, we're in Long Beach, driving through a Long Beach neighborhood. Matter of fact, last time I was here, I think I was at Neil Cole's house. I think Neil Cole lives here in Long Beach.
Yeah.
And so, and you know, they're planting house churches. We're for that. We're for
Right.
planting traditional kinds of churches, churches of different languages and
Absolutely.
ethnicity. But I think that sometimes people maybe we just need to revitalize churches.
Yes.
Now, when I was in Surabaya and Jakarta, it was very easy. It's you know, it's overwhelmingly Muslim. We need more churches. I don't think I had to persuade anybody.
Right.
But even here at a place like LA, you still have to persuade people. And you also do revitalization work, but what does persuading people towards church planting look like to get them to value it?
I want to exhort some of our pastors and leaders in our churches, you know, to see that for many of our churches, we're seeing decline, you know, let's be honest. And so let's read the times and let's say, hey, for some of us, let's be more intentional about revitalizing. Let's be intentional about empowering some young leaders who maybe can go reach the younger generation or form another S-curve of some of these churches, right? So if they find themselves in decline.
These declining churches, right?
Yes, a declining church. Could we bring in a young leader that can attract and build into some of the young families? And so some of that, it's going to mean that pastors or gatekeepers are going to have to be real with the data, be real with their context, and say, hey, what can we do? In some ways, context means the demographics have changed, you know? And so I have this huge heart, like, where are those churches out there where the demographics have changed since that church was founded in a given neighborhood? Maybe it's Latino, predominantly Latino now, or African American. What can we do to help partner with some of our listening audience to bring in someone that could maybe engage that community, that neighborhood,
Right,
and revitalize that
the
church?
pace of demographic change. I mean, I grew up just in and then outside of New York City. I mean, whole neighborhoods were like, they were once Irish, and then they might be predominantly African American, then they might be Latino, then they might be New York City might be Pakistani.
Yes.
Not dissimilar here. Like Buena Park is not far from Biola, and you see neighborhoods that are predominantly Korean or predominantly Chinese or predominantly African American.
Yes.
But they also shift. So if you're thinking back, well, that was an African American neighborhood in the 80s because you saw it on the news.
Like Compton.
Compton,
Which now Latino.
is now a Latino neighborhood. So churches end up being tied to buildings. Now, again, you could make all kinds of theological cases of why that shouldn't be, but it also is an ongoing reality. So if you're in Compton, predominantly African American church, and now it's a predominantly Latino neighborhood, what does that look like strategically?
Yeah, it's going to mean they're going to have to forge some partnerships, you know, and I know that's difficult for some of, I'll just say I can pick on boomers because I am one, but, you know, the power structures, and we're going to have to think more about reaching people in our neighborhood and empowering someone who reflects the new reality in our community and not just hold on to that position and power, you know, as the founder of that church, you know. And so that is a wrestling point, right?
Not easy. So give me some numbers of what you're doing. Like how many projects, how many planters, what are you doing?
Yeah, so it was 4 years ago actually, we put a bold vision out there to say we wanted to see 100 new gospel-centered churches planted by 2026. You know, that was just before COVID hit, and so
it's a great time to make a bold
it was
vision.
a great time to put a bold vision in there to rally people, right? But God's been faithful, and it took us a year, even during COVID. We did some online training with some folks that were called, and in 2021, some of our churches started to roll out and get planted. We gained more traction in 2022, and so since then, we've planted 65 churches. 55 churches, counting like a pastor here. 55
evangelistic counting.
Yes, exactly. 55 new churches have been planted, peppered throughout Southern California from that same region. And we have the guys in the pipeline right now and in our current incubators in English, Spanish, Mandarin, who will make up that final 45 churches that will get
So they're
planted.
already in the pipeline.
They're already in the process,
Amazing.
you know. And so we're actually in the process of recruiting that next wave of folks so that beyond that 2026 vision, we hope to continue to expand. It is interesting. It will have taken us, you know, just over 4 years to get this kind of traction, but we're excited that we think after the 2026 vision, the multiplicity of incubators and access points will be in place, and we think the second 100 are going to come rather quickly because
you seem to have
of the
momentum.
training. Yeah, we have
sure,
momentum, and the training.
But
is more accessible.
nobody's moving to California. Everybody's moving out. This is the worst.
Yeah.
This is a terrible place to live. Though property values seem to be pretty high since people keep trying to move here. So,
That's crazy.
So who are these people? I thought everyone was moving to Texas.
Yeah, no, that there are still folks here holding it down, you know.
And I think California last year had more people coming in than out.
Yeah.
And the story last week was about some of the slowdown and the growth in Texas and Florida, et cetera, et cetera. So it's lots of people here, and lots of people still want to be here.
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot of people unreached here. And I think that's the point. In these post-Christian times, we need to be more intentional. Like, let's be honest. Yes, there are, back to your point about churches, there are a lot of churches and church buildings. They're not all thriving, and we need new churches to reach unchurched people. It doesn't mean that existing churches can't reach unchurched people, but as you know, after a church has existed for about 10 years, they get really focused on meeting the needs of the church folk.
Very true.
And so you need new churches continuously, because those churches can be more externally focused. They can meet in coffee shops, in parks, in schools, in movie theaters, you know, all these kind of places where people will perhaps unchurched people will find maybe a little more accessible, a little more inviting if they're not accustomed to going to church. And so they'll see that as an on-ramp. And I like to call it like almost like a third space, Ed, kind of like a bigger front porch.
Yeah.
I mean, technically all of our churches should have a bigger front porch, but we get super focused on only what can happen inside the four walls of the church. And I think these church plants almost reflect a little more openness, and it's like a bigger front porch where people who don't go to church, may not be comfortable in church, may not know the Bible stories, where they can meet Jesus, or at least start by finding community, hope, encouragement, relationship, and that's the beginning of their gospel journey.
All right, so I'm a pastor or a church planner. How do I get in touch? If I'm a partner and I want to be a partner, how do I get in touch?
Oh, that's great. You can go to citytocitysocal.com and just leave a message on our website, and we would love to follow up with you. But I do want to encourage our pastors who are out there to not be threatened by this moment. See this as a season of the need is ripe. Gen Z is open, more open to the gospel than previous generations. See this as an opportunity to multiply the church, and we would love to help you with some consulting and take some of the data that the Lead the Way tour is producing, the state of the church, so that can inform the adjustments you make to expand the front porch of your church, you know. Or if you have someone that's super sharp on your staff, maybe they can be mobilized to plant a new gospel-centered church. The important thing, Ed, is that people need Jesus. People need to be reached, and find that too oftentimes we're more worried about just, you know, our church, our space, but we need to be more kingdom and think multiplication, reaching lost people. Man, people are really going to hell without Jesus, like just to put the cookies on the bottom shelf. So this is no time for territorialism. This is time for multiplication and harvest. I believe there is a harvest. I believe God is breathing on this next generation and calling them to himself. So man, for such a time as this, we need to go get it.
Larry Acosta, City Los Angeles, and really Southern California. Thanks for taking it on Talbotron 3000, taking a ride with us as well, and look forward to what we're going to go in now, and we're going to go talk to pastors and church leaders.
Let's do it
and help lead the way. Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.